turn out the sound? You're too far away.
Well, it's recording already, so we can start.
Okay. So when you're ready,
It's ready?
I'm ready.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I'll cut off that.
Can you, in the latest days, there is a lot of talk about internet surveillance and citizens surveillance, and maybe if you can comment on the last inquiries that were last few weeks, what do you think? Was there any progress? What are the main questions and issues, etc.?
Yes, indeed. I mean, the entire world has been shocked by the revelations from Edward Snowden. He's a real hero. He's exposed what the US is doing. And the paradoxical situation is that the security services, who were supposed to safeguard our fundamental freedoms, to protect our society, have done exactly the opposite. They are spying on everybody, which is in breach of the US Constitution, it's in breach of the European Convention on Human Rights, it's in breach of, common sense and decency, spying against ordinary citizens where there is no suspicion of a crime. And also, even worse, they have been installing backdoors into the internet. Now, this is very, very dangerous, because if the backdoors are there, you never know who can find them. The NSA, the US spy organization, I mean, they of course think that they are the only ones who can use them, but we can never be sure of that. Russians or Chinese or North Koreans might find them and exploit them. Criminal gangs might find them and exploit them. Terrorists might find them and exploit. So the security services that were supposed to protect us have put us all in jeopardy. This is very, very serious. Yeah.
Can you put that in context of, it all started, of course, in USA, but can you put that in context of European Union somehow, how it's influencing us and itself?
Yes. Here in the European Parliament, the LIBE committee, that is the Committee for Fundamental Rights, have organized a series of hearings taking in experts on this surveillance. And there have been some even more shocking revelations there. We've had confirmation of the leaks by Mr. Snowden, and we have understood even more about the extent of this conspiracy, I guess is the proper word. And it's worth taking note that the European Parliament is the only political institution that has done anything at all. On the member state level, I think probably there's been nothing in any member state, not in Sweden, where I come from, not in the UK. And the reason is, of course, that the governments of the member states are complicit in this. So they have every reason to just say nothing, do nothing, and hope that it all goes away. But here in the European Parliament, we have organized these hearings, and that's a good thing. Because, I mean, Edward Snowden has really sacrificed his life, the life he was leading. The reason he did was to promote political change. Unless we politicians, generally speaking, all over the Western world, unless we politicians pick up the ball and do something about it, that was all in vain. And since these are so very, very important issues, I mean, protecting our fundamental freedoms and making sure our society is robust against attacks, I really hope there will be political consequences.
Well, are you happy with the results of the commission?
Well, it's not the European Commission.
Not the Commission, sorry, wrong expression. I mean, these inquiries that were held a few days ago on 14th was one, and before that, what do you think? Is there any positive results? Or?
Yes, and I would say yes and no. The LIBE committee hearings have been very successful in bringing new facts on the table and making it clear that this is a real story, this is an important story. Unfortunately, media coverage of these hearings and the revelations has been almost nothing. So I'm impressed by what the LIBE committee in the European Parliament is doing, and in particular colleague Sophie Intveld, who's been the driving force behind it. She comes from Holland. She's been very, very good, and the Libe Committee in general has been very, very good. But the fact that it hasn't generated more interest in media, that is a big concern. Because, I mean, unless there is a lot of discussion, public discussion in our society, it will all have been in vain.
Yes, well, we were looking for the information and data, but actually, really on internet there isn't a lot. So
no, there isn't. I mean, my staff here in the European Parliament, my assistant, has taken the videos from the hearings and put it up on YouTube to make it technically easy to watch them. So I'm trying to contribute in whatever way I can, but for this to be really discussed in the way that it needs to be discussed, then we do need the help from media, active help from media. I mean, obviously the Guardian are doing a fantastic job since they were the ones who came with the revelations in the first place. But I would very much have wanted to see a wider discussion, so I do hope that will come.
And about
Can I just ask, why do you think the media role should be in this discussion?
In a democracy, media is a very important component. I mean, a democracy is about the citizens should have the final word. But unless they know what's happening, they can't exercise that right and that duty in a meaningful way. This spying by foreign power on all of us, on all as civilians, is completely unacceptable, and we must do something about that.
Really jump in, that's what I wanted to say, jump in whenever you want with questions. I also wanted to ask you, in Monday, there will be voting on the data protection.
On the new European data protection, have you already had time to read it and know what this European data protection law is about?
That's right. That's the data protection regulation. The first purpose of that one is to harmonize the rules for data protection. Yes, I should explain. When we talk data protection, it's personal data protection. I mean, data doesn't need to be protected. People need to be protected. So it's to guarantee that when companies store information about us, when authorities store information about us, it's being handled in a proper way. At the moment, we have a directive from 1995 that has been implemented in the various member states in quite different ways. It would be much better if we could have a common set of rules for Europe, but also the rules need to be strengthened in many ways. So that is the aim of this regulation. The Commission presented a quite good proposal, actually, and the rapporteur from the Green Group has done an excellent job. But unfortunately, there have been a large number of amendments from members from other groups coming in. 90% of those amendments going in the wrong direction, trying to weaken the regulation to water it down. I don't know what will happen in the vote. It depends on the majorities, but it's definitely an issue to keep your eyes on, so to speak.
Do you guys have any questions?
I was just wondering, we are talking about data protection and personal protection. Why do you think this is so important? Because nowadays we can publish everything on the internet, and most people are very willingly giving pictures of their children, for example, like having my birthday photo on Facebook or Instagram and everything. So I'm willingly giving my personal data on internet. Why do you think protecting this data is so important? Since I'm giving them away fully and willingly, no obligation.
It's exactly for that reason. It is because people are posting lots of intimate details about their own life. I mean, from pictures of their children to, everything. I mean, we all do that, we all want to do it. But just because we want to share something with our friends on a social media service doesn't mean we want to share everything with every security service in the world and every big company in the world. So it's exactly because of that reason, because we want to be able to share details with some people, but not necessarily with every big data company in the world. That's why we need proper rules about this.
Do you think people are aware of the situation? I mean, most of the civilians, are they aware that there's a problem with their security, that there's this potential problem that someone can actually access their data without they knowing it?
I don't know. It varies from person to person, obviously. Unfortunately, I think that many people have the feeling that, okay, this is personal data, but it's so completely uninteresting, so what does it matter?
Actually, that was...
Yeah, that argument is invalid, because, it's true of me as well. The personal data that I share would be completely uninteresting to almost everybody. But still, if the government and big corporations are allowed to collect data about everybody and put it in a big database, that's a risk to society, because it means that it becomes very, very easy to target any individual. For 99.99% of all citizens, nothing bad is ever going to happen. But there is the risk that in case the authorities suddenly decide that you have written an article that we don't like, then they can very easily find data about you to victimize you in various ways. So it's more a danger to society as a whole than a danger to most ordinary citizens. But the danger to society as a whole is very, very serious indeed.
So we should raise awareness of citizens' action, basically.
Yes, I think that's a very important thing to do, because at the end of the day, in a democracy, it's only when citizens really care and really show that they care that the good forces have a chance in the political system.
You're talking about democracy. We have the European election coming soon. Do you think this topic can be debate or a huge topic for this upcoming election? Or is it going to be like, as no one cares about, nothing in the media, so it will be like just forgotten till chance?
I hope it's going to be a big issue. Because one of the problems with European elections is that very often, in particular the big parties, tend to pretend that it's a national elections. So they talk about national issues that are not even decided here in the European Parliament. I think that's bad and it's dishonest towards citizens. The surveillance issue is very much on the table of the EU. It is an EU competence to a very large extent. So I would want the election campaign to be about issues that actually are decided by the EU. And this surveillance is one of those issues. And like I said before, I think it's a tremendously important issue for our society, so I do hope it becomes a major theme in the election campaign. And I think that's a big chance of it, because we have only seen the beginning of the revelations. There is much more to come. So I'm confident that we'll continue to have new shocking stories coming up the next 6-7 months. I don't think it's going to go away.
I talked this morning with a member of the Ligue des Droits de l'Homme, which is a French organization for human rights, and they said that European Parliament is trying to do something about mass surveillance, but it's not in their competence. They don't have the power to say you can't surveil on EU citizens anymore. Do you think it's true that the European Parliament don't have the power to stop national or international agencies to actually spy on citizens?
Yes, that's true. The European Parliament can't make new legislation on its own. We have to do it together with the two other institutions, the European Commission and the Council of Ministers. The European Commission is the only institution that has the right of initiative, the only ones who can place suggestions for new laws on the table. And the Council of Ministers always has to agree together with the European Parliament. But having said that, you've got to start somewhere. And the European Parliament at the moment is the only political institution anywhere in Europe, to the best of my knowledge, that is doing anything at all with these inquiries. Our hope is, of course, to make sure that the issue stays on the agenda, so that the other political institutions will eventually have to, well, do what they are supposed to do, which is protect European citizens and protect our fundamental rights.
And just one more question regarding another member of Parliament, Tiziano Monti. You disagree with him around, basically there was some discussion that we found on the internet. Can you explain us that a little bit? Just to
You're talking about the Smile 29 written declaration? Or? Yeah, that was some time ago, some 2 years ago. He had a written declaration which is an instrument for, if you get the majority of the members to sign it, then it's not legislation, but then that's the opinion of the European Parliament, so to speak. He had a written declaration that talked about protecting the children, but unfortunately advocated censorship on the internet. And to me, not having censorship, I mean the free flow of information, as guaranteed in Article 10 of the European Convention of Human Rights, is a fundamental thing to society. The right to send and receive information without interference by public authority and regardless of frontiers is one of our fundamental rights, and a very important one. So censorship is not the way to forward.
And what do you think is best? What do you think is the best way then to prevent? I mean, internet is used in many ways, including bad ways. There's, I don't know, child pornography and every single other bad stuff that happens. How to prevent that happening?
Very simple answer. Real proper police work done by real proper policemen. I mean, the internet...
It makes sense.
Yeah, the internet is nothing magical. It's not a new world. It's not a computer game. It's just yet another technology, just like the telegraph or the telephone or printed newspapers or postal service or whatever. The same rules should apply, and the way to combat criminals is exactly the same. Proper policemen doing proper police work. There are no magical technical solutions. You just push a button and everything bad disappears. The internet is just an ordinary part of the world, and has to be treated like the rest of the ordinary world.
Okay. And what did you?
That was exactly the same question.
Okay. So, anything else?
No, I think we kind of like.
Do you have
anything to add?
That's it.